What if I told you there was a medical treatment so widespread and accepted that it could have easily wiped out half of human history? And the worst part is we can still use it today. For thousands of years, doctors believed that draining your blood would cure everything. They were wrong. Draining your blood will kill you. But before modern medicine, this was the most common form of treatment out there, used from ancient Egypt to Nazi Germany. Doctors used leeches or knives to perform what's known as bloodletting. This practice had one goal, to remove some of your blood. But why would they do such a thing? Well, because they believed doing so would cure all sorts of ailments. Ancient Greek and Roman doctors believed that illnesses were caused by an imbalance of 4 humors, or fluids in the body. These included blood, phlegm, black and yellow bile. When you were sick, it meant one of these 4 was out of balance and needed to be drained. The earliest recorded instance of bloodletting was in 1800 BC in Egypt. At the time, people believed that diseases like malaria were caused by an excess of hot blood. So to treat it, they would cut open veins with a sharp tool made of either copper or flint. They would then apply a leech to suck out the bad blood. That's right. For thousands of years, doctors used leeches to help with everything from fevers to headaches, even the plague. The practice stayed around for thousands of years, moving into Europe in the Middle Ages. There, doctors would use lancets to prick their patients' skin and drain them of blood. The problem was the tools used were far from sanitary. If you survived the procedure, you'd likely die from infection. And that wasn't even the worst part. It rarely actually worked. Bloodletting only sometimes helped the conditions it was trying to treat. Most of the time, it did nothing at all. Yet despite being ineffective and deadly, it remained popular for centuries. One reason was the rise of barber surgeons. During the Middle Ages, barbers performed many functions besides cutting hair, including acting as surgeons and performing bloodletting. Since they weren't trained doctors, they often botched the procedure, causing infections and sometimes killing people. Another reason bloodletting remained so common was that it fit nicely into the prevailing theory of how illnesses worked. The 4 humors theory stated that our bodies are full of these 4 liquids. Keeping them balanced is essential to our health. So to treat an illness, all you have to do is restore that balance. It makes sense, right? Well, not really. We now know that illnesses are caused by germs. To get rid of those, you need antiseptics, not bloodletting. But back then, that theory was unprovable. Scientists couldn't see germs, so they came up with their own theories about what might be going on. Bloodletting was based on the idea that diseases were caused by imbalances in our humors, not by outside invaders. Because of that, scientists spent centuries trying to perfect the procedure instead of searching for other causes of disease. But not everyone was a fan of bloodletting. One early critic was the Persian physician Al-Kindus, who argued against the practice in a book published in 500 AD. He wasn't convinced that imbalances in the 4 humors caused disease, and he worried that bloodletting could kill people. Some of his ideas were ahead of their time, but he also made a very good point. Why didn't bloodletting work every time? If all diseases were caused by imbalances in the humors, removing some of the blood should solve them. But that simply wasn't the case. So while bloodletting remained common, there were always those who questioned its effectiveness. One doctor who did was Thomas Sydenham. He lived during the 1600s when bloodletting was extremely common. While he did use the procedure occasionally, he knew it could kill people, so he only used it as a last resort. This was unusual, since most doctors saw bloodletting as a cure-all. But he wasn't alone. A few other physicians across Europe and Asia agreed with him, but they were definitely in the minority. During the American Revolution, George Washington got sick with a high fever. His doctors bled him multiple times in an attempt to cure him. It didn't work. Instead of saving his life, they probably hastened his death. After he died, his doctors continued to bleed his corpse, which is vile but also completely pointless. His body had already started to decompose and they weren't bringing him back to life. During the Revolution, France was in the midst of the Reign of Terror. People were guillotined left and right and there was plenty of blood to go around. Many French doctors argued that drinking the blood of the guillotined would cure all sorts of illnesses. They called it the medicine of the future, but it wasn't. The blood of the executed didn't cure anything and infected many people with syphilis. This was just another example of how bloodletting not only didn't work, but could actively make things worse. The practice was used in America well into the 19th century, but eventually its popularity began to wane. That's not to say it disappeared. Even today, doctors use bloodletting in extreme circumstances. It's called therapeutic phlebotomy, and it's used to treat illnesses where too much iron has built up in the body. Conditions like this can be fatal, so doctors will perform bloodletting to save lives. It's rare, but it happens. But for the most part, bloodletting was abandoned. By the mid-20th century, it was largely forgotten. But that hasn't stopped some people from trying to bring it back. There have been several recent cases of people using leeches to try and cure everything from hangovers to acne. Not only does this not work, but it can cause infections. That means that in 2023, people are still dying from the same practice that killed people thousands of years ago. Let's hope that doesn't become a trend. You probably already know someone who hates going to the dentist. But have you ever met someone who loves it? No. Well, let me introduce you to Dr. Scott, who's obsessed with teeth. Hey, want to know the secret to getting pearly whites so bright that they light up the night sky? Then click the video on screen now to learn more.